I am super honored to have Julie Danielson here today. We met online, we met on Facebook, and some of you might already know her that way. And she has quite a big following, and I was just blown away. And I'm like, I've got to connect with this person. I reached out to her, and she has been an inspiration just from a marketing standpoint for us, but also just, I listen to her all the time, and she's very raw, very honest. And I think that's why she appeals to so many. So Julie Danielson is a divorce coach. She's joining us all the way from Alaska. Did I mention that part? And she's the founder of Thriving Through Divorce. And she's also the host of a national podcast called Get Over Divorce. And today, Julie will be speaking on managing emotions to promote better mental health. So I know that we're going to walk away with some great information. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I really appreciate you having me, Elise, and getting to know you as well and seeing all of your awesome speakers. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I'm going to go over a slide presentation here. There we go. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. Again, so we're talking about managing emotions, and this is to promote better emotional and mental health. And this is not just during or after divorce, but this can be applied at work, at home, with your children. All of these skills that you're going to learn today is going to be very effective in helping you learn to manage your emotions and not be triggered into reacting and responding in ways that you really don't want to respond. So when we talk about our emotions, they come from our brain, right? And I love this little image of the cave girl chasing the man, because the fight or flight response is what really comes up when we think about our emotions and being triggered. And that comes from the medulla, that part of your brain at the very base of your spinal cord. It's often often called the monkey mind. And that is the piece of our brain that is so efficient in triggering us into fight or flight. And this has been wonderful in helping the human race continue. However, that fight or flight response that is so triggering happens in times that it doesn't require us to run from a bear, but it feels like that rush of adrenaline and cortisol. It's all dumping into our bloodstream, and it can be very toxic for us if we are consistently being triggered like this. And for a lot of you, we are triggered by our ex-spouses, right? So what's happening on the inside of our brain is that when we're put into fear, our brain fires these little synapses, and it likes to be efficient. Our brain is triggering the automatic response that it's always had when we come face to face with either our boss and they don't look happy, or our children who's having a meltdown, or it's our ex-spouse, right? And that's why we can't seem to help ourselves when we react negatively to somebody. It's because our brain is wired automatically to react. But the good news is you can learn to overcome this automatic reaction. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So this is what's happening to your brain when we're having these automatic reactions. We have these thoughts that is triggering a feeling. Okay. Now I call this the think, feel, act cycle, and it's very well known. But what's happening in the thought loop, and I'm going to cover that in just a second. The thought loop is your thought is triggering a feeling, and then that feeling is causing us to think about our feelings, and then it actually spirals us into a negative emotion, right? And these thought loops happen when you keep thinking about certain thoughts. And it's usually, when we're most triggered, when we're really stressed. And sometimes this puts us into a place of kind of depression, right? Sometimes our thoughts come up because we think somebody is thinking something about us. And I'm going to give you an example. When I used to work in corporate America, I had a boss that walked right by me and didn't say good morning one day, and it immediately put me into this spiraling thought loop. And I started thinking, oh my gosh, she didn't like my presentation. I'm going to be fired. She's mad at me. And like, after I already worked myself up into this total tizzy of feelings and like on the verge of tears, thinking I'm going to be fired because my boss didn't say good morning to me, she walks out and she says, my son's at the principal's office and I need to go pick him up. I'll be gone for the rest of this morning. It had nothing to do about me. And my brain automatically made it mean something about me. So we need to be aware that our thoughts are what creates our emotions. It is nothing outside of us. And I'm going to go into a deeper example of that in a moment. But I also wanted to like back it up a little bit and talk about how our thoughts create our emotions, and then they also create our actions based on how we feel. So it's like I was thinking I'm about to get fired, and I was feeling all the emotions that come with that. I was sad, I was fearful, I was in like a total state of panic, and it was really hard to hide it. I looked very distressed. And then my actions were going to be very defensive if she engaged in a conversation with me about whatever it was I was thinking she was going to fire me for, right? But what we have an opportunity to do right here in this moment is to notice your thoughts, okay? And when you notice your thoughts, you have power over your actions with those thoughts. So let's go into another example. And I like to call this is the unconscious model of our thoughts. Here we have an event and your ex is yelling at you, right? It's an external factor. It's outside of your control. Somebody's yelling at you. And what's happening is it's creating this perception inside your brain of what that person is thinking or feeling, right? We have a thought and it makes us think, oh, maybe I'm not a good mom, or he thinks I'm a terrible person, right? And that creates the feeling. And it's usually like anticipation or anxiety. And in this situation, we've got your ex yelling at you, telling you horrible things. A lot of times that results in negative actions where people tend to numb themselves with alcohol or over shopping. Maybe like during COVID, you open up the door and there's 10,000 Amazon boxes, right? Or people numb themselves with over like hooking up with people, or numbing themselves with drugs, alcohol, wine, porn, gambling, all of the bad habits. People numb themselves to overcome their feelings, okay? So if you're having some bad habits, I want you to think about what are your thoughts that are driving you to those bad habits? And when we really dig down, our brain is telling us these thoughts like it's the news, like it's real, like it's the truth. And the honest truth is your brain loves to lie to you. Your brain loves to keep you in that panic mode, in that fight or flight mode, because when it does that, it's actually keeping you safe from doing anything outside of your home, right? So if you're in a state of panic and fear, it's actually making our species more likely to survive, because you're not going to walk outside of your home and get hit by a car or eaten by a bear, right? So your brain loves to tell you lies, and it's going to tell you lies. Like, for example, if you're struggling with thoughts about your ex, it's going to tell you things like, I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't a good enough wife. I should have tried harder. I was demanding and needy, or I didn't want sex enough, or I complained too much. And this is not just for women, this is for men too. If for some reason they're being blamed for the downfall of the marriage, they're going to have thoughts that are very negative about them. So what's really important is that you notice your brain loves to tell you these lies. And the best way to determine, is it a lie or is it the truth, is to run it through this filter. And I learned this from Byron Katie. She's like, can it be proven in a court of law? If your thought can be proven in a court of law, then maybe it's the truth. But if it can't be proven in the court of law, then it's just your brain serving you up reasons to stay home and stay safe and sit on the couch and watch Netflix, rather than get out of your house and have a good time, right? Because you might die. That's just how our brain works. So it's going to tell you these terrible lies. And you need to apply your logical brain, your developed brain, your prefrontal cortex, and it needs to be in charge of, what you're actually choosing to think, because these default thoughts are going to happen. So we need to create thoughts on purpose, because we are evolved humans with the ability to think. So rather than thinking you're not pretty enough, you need to think thoughts like, well, being pretty doesn't make a marriage work, right? And rather than thinking you weren't a good enough wife, what if you thought, I had other obligations as well? Or you're only one part of the partnership. Or rather than feeling like you were demanding and needy, what if you just thought, I have human needs and they weren't being met? And for the thought, I didn't want sex enough. What if you didn't want sex with somebody that was emotionally unavailable to you? Do you see how these small tweaks in your thinking can help you feel better about yourself? That's what we're here to talk about. Now, these are all emotions that come up because of our fear thoughts. All of these fear-based emotions are coming up. And I want to know, what are you doing to manage these thoughts? Most people feel very helpless and they feel like they can't help how they feel. And it's just not true. It doesn't mean that you're going to become perfect at it, but just like learning a language or a brand new musical instrument, you can use your brain as a tool and practice feeling new feelings by thinking new thoughts. And we're human, we're meant to feel a range of emotions, but the truth is you can get better at managing your emotions and not sitting in these fear-based emotions all day, every day, right? We are meant to experience all of the emotions, but you can experience less drama in your life by thinking better thoughts. So what are you doing with these thoughts? And I kind of touched on, numbing mechanisms that people go to in order to try and feel better by, doing something that's not inside their brain. They're getting out of their brain by doing all of these activities: overeating, over drinking, smoking, taking antidepressants, other drug use, over shopping, maybe even going on vacation for an escape, right? Not all of them are terribly bad for you, but some of them are, like going on Tinder and hooking up, or, spending all of your time going out with friends and never really spending any downtime alone, which is really what we need in order to practice better thoughts, right? So now you have the tool to start learning to do better things than dating the wrong men or trying to get your ex back, right? When we push our feelings aside and we distract ourselves, this is what's called feeling avoidance. And I love this quote: what you resist not only persists, but it will grow in size. And I like to kind of describe our feelings as something, when we resist them, it's like shoving them under a rug, and then like it just piles up like bad dirt on the floor. It's just going to turn into this giant pile of undealt with emotions. So what we really need to do is we need to feel our feelings and be really curious with our feelings. Sit with your thoughts, get a journal out and ask yourself, is it really true? Is this thought really, really true? Can you absolutely know it's true? So this is the tool I told you that I got from Byron Katie. You run it through this little filter. And then you ask yourself, can it be proven in a court of law? Because only if you can honestly say it can be proven in a court of law is it possibly the truth. And I want you to think of yourself as a truth seeker. And our feelings are not the truth. We think they are, but our feelings are not the truth. And a lot of times we can change our feelings just like that by thinking a different thought. And I've really noticed that when I thought this thought, like, is it really true? No, it's not really true. It immediately makes me feel better. I don't go into that spin cycle that I described earlier. Okay. And then ask yourself, how do you react when you think this thought? And who would you be without this thought? I love that question. So you can screenshot this really quick and slip it into your journal, because this is a really great way to get curious about your mind, and it's going to help you lift up your thoughts. Okay, so I wanted to real quick talk about thought quality and what it does to the quality of your life. So on the left-hand side of this graph, we have your quality of life. And this is somebody who lets their thoughts, and their thoughts are the T's there, they let them unconsciously roam. They are not conscious about their thoughts. They just let their thoughts get away from them. And their thoughts create their feelings and their actions. So they're being a very unconscious person here, right? And the quality of life deteriorates because of it. So this is somebody who is more conscious and aware of their thoughts, and they've learned to practice looking at their thoughts and noticing them and questioning their thoughts and getting very, very curious. Their quality of life goes up because this person becomes more optimistic and a little bit happier because they're not always thinking negative thoughts about themselves. So this is second to last slide. And I just want to share really quick what we can do to inject better feelings and better thoughts into our lives. One of the best ways of doing this is to have more gratitude. And a lot of people, a lot of coaches, I have a lot of friends, they have a journal and they just every day start their day with a couple of minutes of what they're grateful for. And gratitude definitely is the fastest way to inject a little bit more optimism and fun into your life when you can walk around and just think about all the things that you're grateful for. Another amazing way to inject better feelings and thoughts into your life is to have like a go-to folder of things that make you feel really, really good. I actually have pictures of my kids, and immediately when I look at these pictures, because they're like all the silly pictures that I've collected over the years, especially when they were younger. I have teenagers now, but I look at these pictures and they're just silly, and they always make me smile and make me feel playful immediately by looking at these photos. So that is one way that you guys can boost your mind and think about better feeling thoughts. And that's it for today. I just wanted to end with a welcome invitation to join my free Facebook group. You can just search in the Facebook search bar, Thriving Community, Women Supporting Women Through Divorce, and ask to be let in that community there. You can also go check out my website at thrivingthroughdivorce.com. Right there on the homepage, I do have free access to a free video about creating more self-love after divorce. And that's absolutely free to every one of you. And you're welcome to go there and check that out.